What's up, everybody? It's your favorite innuendos, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at Toyworld's Hardbone. Hardbone. Now look, we're all adults, right? And I get it, and it's fine, but I'm just saying, do they realize how difficult it is for other people to take you seriously as a collector when you're playing with a hardbone?
Hey Bobby, what you doing?
Just playing with my hardbone.
Come back another time.
Anyway, back on business. Before we get any further, look, we're going through a drought right now as far as toys are coming out. So I'm in for a bunch of stuff. I'm just waiting for new stuff to show up, and as they show up, I'll get them out to you. But I know that some people look forward to a daily video, so or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I want to have something for those people. So we're going to be looking at some older stuff. I try to do stuff like the comics and the Cribs videos in order to break it up a little bit. But if there's anything you want me to do, let me know. I do have a couple of different ideas that are coming along that are going to happen. But if you have anything else that you'd rather me do other than these older toys, which I haven't taken a look at yet, feel free to let me know. But what can I tell you? I can only work with what's being released, right? So let's bear with each other. So here we go. Let's talk about accessories. We have these side arms here. They plug into the side. First of all, let me just say I like the way that this looks. It's a little off, right? But it's not hateful. And size comparison-wise, it's a decent size. There it is next to Tiger Track. So pretty good, right? And it's a brick. It's a beefy unit. I've always had a special place in my heart for this toy. I've always thought it was fairly decent, especially for the time in which it came out. I think that, yeah, you can have that down like that. Let's talk about accessories. There's a number of things that they did right here, including paint. So it has these two things here, and they plug into 5mm ports here. This looks like a 5mm port there, but because of this stock down here, it's really hard to get it in. It kind of has to be at an angle, so it doesn't really work. Let's look at them first. Green paint looks good, could probably use a second coat. I'm just going to say that, but for the time when not a lot of paint was being applied, it was pretty good. All the green in those little notches and stuff, like you rarely saw that amount of paint. And they did it on both, and they even added the yellow on top. Yellow could have probably used an additional coat as well, but pretty cool accessories for what they are. Set those aside. We have this piece here, which is a tight fit, and it makes me very uncomfortable even removing it. Yeah, let's just say it removes, because you can keep it on. It does remove, it plugs in. But the actual weapon here, this joint, and we'll talk about it in robot mode too, but it's a little loose and it's a little obnoxious. The red paint in there, though, is all tight and well done, as is the red paint everywhere. That's red paint for you. So anyway, translucent here at the tip, so to speak, of your hardbone, and then this thing slides up and down, but I'm not exactly sure if I recall why. It's got these, so I bet you can arm up these. Oh, there you go, Mega Cannon. Mega Cannon to the rescue, so that's fine. I prefer them on the sides, though. And I think on the back. I don't know if I've ever put them on the front, but they got holes on both. So the other main accessory, of course, is his signature Targetmaster, which many people, I remember, initially thought didn't fit in here, but he does. You just kind of got to really get him in there. There is an extra little level in there, if you can see, to put his feet, and that's where his feet really need to go, and with his knees really bent in order to make that happen. Let's talk about this guy. We got yellow paint and silver paint on the face. That's fine. No articulation on the head, so that's what it is. We got a ball peg here, which gets you the up and down and the in and out. It's okay. No elbow. Ball peg, T-jointed. Hips, you know how that goes. That's fine. And then a ball peg knee, which works fine with the exception of his feet want to, sometimes, oh, maybe not. I guess they do stop because of the design, so that's actually well thought out, but they do go to that point, and that does look a little silly. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just like double jointed knees maybe or something, and I don't mean in terms of joints, I mean in terms of like when you know a guy with double jointed knees. To transform, I think it's just arms to the side. It's been a while, so forgive me. And then this up here like that, and that up here like that. And then the head is there. It doesn't do a great job of hiding the head. That's a big deal for some people, that the head is hidden in robot mode. It's not a big deal for me. But if it is for you, be aware. This thing rolls like a champ, even on the matte Leonard. And it's pretty decent, especially for the time it came out. And I'm going to probably keep saying that, but we have to keep it in perspective. Am I right? One of the things that I love about this that I don't think I mentioned in the final thoughts, which I've already kind of done, is the transformation of this thing is extremely intuitive. I remember when I got it out of the box, I wasn't doing reviews at the time, and the transformation just flowed. It flowed, and I didn't have to look at the directions or anything. Like, it just, because I think it comes like this in the box. You know, I usually try to transform things the way they come. So let's get this thing transformed. I try to remember how to do it. I just did it, but it has been a while since I've messed with this thing. Open up here. Open this bit up, which hides the thigh, and then rotate this out away from it. Fold this piece back onto itself, collapse the entire piece inside of the treads, but you do have to go around these pegs, so you got to keep it open a little bit, and then it'll snap in. Wheels. And then this piece here, you just spring down and pull up, toes are done. So we'll do it again for the slow learners like myself. Open that up, rotate that piece out, which is a little stubborn. Angle this to go around those two pegs in there and back down. That'll snap together. Feet down and up. Now it does some kind of Combiner Wars scavenger moves here, way before its time. So unplug that piece. It plugs into there. And on this side, you want to untab these two side pieces. And then this piece comes up. These pieces rotate down and in. And then they tab together. You guys see the scavenger, right? And then close that up. And I gotta tell you, maybe, what do I got wrong here? Oh, so fold this up and then tab that in. And I gotta tell you, this does this better, I feel like, once you got it together. See, I was getting ready to sing his praises there. It does this better, and it sticks together better than the either the Generation Toy or the Combiner Wars Scavenger. And then this back part here, you can kind of do a number of different things with, and we'll talk about that kind of later on. That's one of the bummers here in terms of kibble. Arms. So these are plugged into these translucent pieces inside here. You probably can't see them. You will in a second. Probably not the best choice, but I've never had a breakage issue or stress mark related. So untab, fold that piece in, switch around. If you untab this back tread, that will allow you to pull this out, open this up, do our favorite transformation. If we can. Not a lot of leverage to be had. Let's do the old trick. There. Close that up. Good to go. Other side, same thing for the slow learners like myself. Untab this. Fold that down. Rotate around. Untab the treads. Pull the arm down, open this up, do your best to get that hand out. That one went much better. Close that up. So, last piece, bring this around. If you open it up there, then you can rotate it. That'll sit flush on his back. I don't think it tabs into anything. No, it doesn't look like it. And then this comes down, forming a signature kind of rocket shoulder bit of business. Take his head for the final step. Tab it in to the top, and this opens up for a little bit of display. It's not quite the Headmaster power source, but it is something. It is reminiscent of that, right? In terms of spirit. And that's this fella. We'll take a look at him. As you can see, he holds his accessories just fine. No problems there. But we're going to take him off for the sake of talking about him. Whoa! Alright, so just comes right out there. Little like 5mm port, which we don't see too much anymore, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to take them off just to talk about them. So, let's just go top to bottom, right? This articulates here on this hinge, obviously, which is cool, but it's not the best tolerance joint, so it is a bit loose. And then you get the ratcheted swivel, no up and down. For the head. Head has green paint. It could have used a second layer. If you can see some of that underneath is poking through. Other than that, it's pretty good. It is the face itself is a little on the like flat side. Like there's not a lot of definition in the face. Like there's not a lot of definition, especially between the visor and then the mouthpiece, and then also the helmet and the visor. So it all starts to look a little washed out. For the shoulders, we have a ratcheted hinge that goes up and down. It's not the best design joint, but it does work. It's just like it's inconsistent. The notches are inconsistent. And then we have a bicep swivel here, which is too loose, just not the best. And then a ratcheted elbow, which gets you 90 degrees. So that's fine. We got this little bit of kibble here, not terrible. Gray paint, red paint, that all looks fine. Gray paint and then red paint on top of it there, which looks good. Wrist swivel, gray paint on the inside, all good to go. No complaints there. Same on the other side. I also forgot to mention that we have this swivel here and an additional hinge. So there is an awful lot of articulation, even for as blocky as he is. You know, the head does get in the way, but I do feel like they did the best they could with the design. So not too shabby. For the torso, we have this gray paint here, black paint there, gray paint with the black paint on top, so that's all good. Translucent plastic to help break up the sides. Back looks fairly clean. Wish this kind of worked better. I had it down, up. It still sticks out a bit, just not the best. Waist swivel. So that's all okay. Down here for the hips and pelvis, we have a little bit of gray paint on there, and that's it. And then we have ratcheted universals on a soft ratchet here at the hips. They go out to there, forward to there, no problems. We have the red paint on there. Thigh swivels built in just above the knee, which is not the best, but certainly works. And then we come down to the feet. We have the wheels here, which do irritate me. I don't know why. I don't really have a good reason why. It doesn't really get in the way. I just don't like it. I don't know why. Design choice wise, I just don't like it. Paint wise is all good, the gray and the red. The red looks fantastic, by the way. Red is a pretty easy color to use a lot of times. It's a really nice paint most of the time, so that's probably why it looks so good. And then the gray paint in there looks good as well. All this down here is translucent, including the articulation for the ankles, which is on a hinge here and then a swivel there. So that gets you your pseudo ankle tilt and rocker, which is fine. It works just fine. It's maybe not the best, but it definitely achieves the goal. And that's this fella in a nutshell. Size comparison wise, there he is with the Make Toys one. And the Make Toys one really does put this one to shame. There's just a few factors that just feel better. I feel like the colors are better, and I feel like the overall kind of design is obviously better. The materials are better. But, you know, obviously he's not going to work with your Chug shelf, right? And he kind of will, and we're going to illustrate that even better here in a second. Now here's Fans Project's code, which is his their chrome dome, and I always like this scale because in my head I've always imagined HardHead being a bit bigger. I know that may not be entirely accurate, but it just seems appropriate for the character. You know, we've often talked on here about what seems right for you as the collector and how you imagine these characters and how you want them to appear on your shelf. And I've always liked the way that these two look together. You know, like Chrome Dome was the brains, and then HardHead was the brawn, the muscle. You know, for a Chug shelf, I think that these are two nice additions for that kind of thing nowadays, and they do look the part. And I don't think that we'll get another third-party attempt at these figures because third-party's kind of moving away from the Chug aesthetic. Even the stuff that is aimed at Chug is kind of somewhere in between for the most part, with a few exceptions, obviously. But a lot of it is going the MP route. So I think that for a Chug shelf, I think these are two nice additions and two great representations together of Headmasters for your shelf. Final thoughts-wise, the materials, they're fine. The articulation, pretty good. The paint, pretty good. And to be honest with you, better than the average third-party piece that came out around this time. The sculpt, that's where some of the problems start to come into paradise. I never really liked the head on this fella, but overall, I think it does a pretty good job. The thing that we have to keep in mind here, the big thing is that this is antiquated, you know, by today's standards. But for its day, this was a pretty good piece. This is around the time the third party really started shifting gears to full-fledged figures and getting away from upgrade kits and all that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, there was plenty before this, but this was in that kind of when I really feel like the tide started to change. And for that time, this was a great piece, and I still feel like it stands up against the test of time. I still think it's a pretty good piece, and I still think it would look great amongst other Chug pieces. It's just that comparing it to my more, I guess, modern, for lack of a better word, even though we're not talking about a great span of time, sensibilities, it doesn't really make the cut. But I can't tell you that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that there's some tolerance things and some sculpt things that seem a little off. This was like $100 at its time, and I feel like today that price is a little pricey. But I'm sure that on the aftermarket you can find it for a little cheaper, maybe in the Cybertron Cafe on Facebook or in some of the other buy-sell trade groups, maybe even eBay, maybe. Probably not, but maybe. And it would definitely be worth picking up for that particular kind of void in your collection. Now, I know there is a Hasbro Hardhead. I've seen pictures of it. It's not for me, but if it's for you, then I don't think there's anything here spectacular enough to make you want to switch up. But I think if you don't have a Hardhead, this is a decent choice. The minor things being the slightly hindered articulation, slightly wonky head sculpt. That's really all that we had to work with here negatively. Few tolerance issues as well. The paint is really great, especially for its time, and there's plenty of it. They were not stingy with the paint at all, and it really does break up a relatively dull character design in terms of hardhead and colors and so forth. Like, I think they did a pretty good job, especially for their time. So, do I recommend them? On an aftermarket price under $100, if you have the void in your collection, sure. If you have a hardhead that you're happy with, I think it's good enough to skip them at this point. But if you need a hardhead for that chug shell, for that Voyager kind of scale, I think he's a decent addition. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.